Minnesota, the Vikings, they're on a European vacation right now. They're going to take on Cleveland for game 2 overseas and maybe come away with a win. But how about this? Carson Wentz is the starting quarterback for Minnesota. Dilllon Gabriel expected to start for the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
The total of this game, 35.5 and a 3.5 point favorite for Minnesota. The spread line, Joe, overseas is what?
Yeah, well, again, we were wondering whether or not this change was going to take center stage, Donnie, and it has. So kudos to the Browns for figuring it out. But to me, this is all about, again, the total. Keep in mind, Minnesota has been overseas now over the last couple of weeks. It's going to be a little travel spot. It's going to be a young quarterback. It's going to be issues with the offensive line. This total is low, Donnie, and it is low for a reason. Keep in mind, the banged-up offensive line for Carson Wentz is also a big issue against that front here. First half unders, full game totals, team totals, all on the table here with this game coming up, Donnie.
How about this one? You want to get put into the torture chamber? Sit down and watch the New York Giants and the New Orleans Saints. Dart versus Rattler opened up as a favorite slightly towards the Giants. Now swaying over to New Orleans as high as -2.5 at certain outlets. And a total, Joe, around 41 to 40.5, depending on where you're shopping at. The spread line for Dart and Rattler is what?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, I mean, the public seems to like the Giants a lot here, but I don't know that we're going to see that come kickoff here. I mean, the Giants, great. Jackson Dart, great. First road game, not great. And by the way, the Saints aren't quit on anybody here. Keep an eye on this. I do think it's going to rise, and I do think you're going to see a lot more Saints money before you see Giants money here before kickoff.
Yeah, a little bit different for a quarterback starting at home now going on the road in a tough environment. Maybe the Saints fans, I guess, will be excited at this point now. We don't know, but we'll see where that spread gets by the time we get the game time. But we got to kick it around the NFL and get to the latest, which includes Lamar Jackson. How long is he expected to miss, and how long can the Ravens afford him to miss? Coming up next. Baltimore, the most talented team in the NFL. Baltimore is going to finally break through the season. It's Baltimore's time. Look at Kansas City. That's a putrid franchise. They open up the season 0-2. It's Baltimore's year. Night number 1 in the NFL. Sunday Night Football. Baltimore is hammering the Buffalo Bills. Until they weren't. Now we sit at 1-3 for the Baltimore Ravens. Now we see Lamar Jackson with a hamstring injury, and he could miss 2 to 3 weeks. The Baltimore Ravens in shambles. It is a long season, but not long if you open up 1-4, 1-5, 1-6. Now, I don't think they're going to do that, but my goodness, have you seen a team more injury rattled to superstar players and key components than the Ravens are right out of the jump? All right, 49ers, I'm looking at you too. What gives here in Baltimore, Joe?
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate across the board, but I still think that this Ravens team has bigger issues to be concerned with in the short term because you're not going to lose. It doesn't sound like you're going to lose Lamar for the entire season. So there is a shot that as long as you can, in that division, Donnie, we're still looking at one team is who you've got to basically be better than, and that is the Steelers. And you and I both know the Steelers are very fortunate to be sitting at 3-1. There is a reason why Baltimore 24 hours ago was still the odds-on favorite to win the AFC North here. So even if you lose Lamar a couple of weeks, you got to get that defense healthy. You got to get those guys on that side of the ball coming together because I think they can stay afloat until you can get Lamar back. You only got one team to worry about. It's not the Browns or the Bengals. It's just the Steelers.
What an interesting game, too, because Cooper Rush is going to get the start here. Houston won last week. Their defense is very good, but their offense is struggling. But now everybody's injured for Baltimore. I'm telling you right now, Joe, I look at that 40.5 and say, oh, it's got to be way under. I don't know about that now. 45.5 down to 40.5. I now start looking at that and going, Cooper Rush has been around the block. What, he can't get 15 to 20 points here? And Houston with that banged up defense that everybody's lighting the world up on that Ravens defense. Why can't we get 40 points in that game? Something to keep an eye out there for a contrarian sort of look. If we're looking for contrarian action, well, I guess it's not contrarian that, Tyreek Hill is going to be out for the season, but we're getting a lot of optimism here, which I don't know about. This isn't a 21-year-old football player, a devastating knee injury that basically blew, the kneecap and also multiple ligaments. And I was like, surgery, awesome. Be back for next year. He might be back for next year, but the Tyreek Hill we're used to, Joe, electric on the field where nobody can catch him. People are going to be catching him now, Joe.
Yeah, it's not great. He's just on that wrong side of 30 there, Donnie, where you're just not going to heal like you used to heal. Now, does
Nope.
that mean that he can't get another contract and the team won't give him money here if he's, let's say, 70% of what he was? No, it doesn't. It's the NFL. Of course, they'll squeeze every last drop out of Tyreek Hill they can. But, Tyreek Hill at 100% with no knee issues is a different player than one that is going to take a little while to try to get back and then may never be back to 100% Tyreek Hill, which is beatable. Donnie, let's be reasonable. He won't be the weapon that he was before the injury.
Tampa Bay Bucks probably down their best weapon at wide receiver, Mike Evans, for at least a couple more weeks with a hamstring injury. But hey, at least there's Bucky Irvin, electric out of the backfield, sensational year last year, and looks like he was on that edge of doing dominant things again. But how about this? Mike Garofalo is reporting here. Bucky Irving is still gathering medical opinions on what's being termed an ankle and or foot injury, sources tell me, and rap sheet. That's not good news for the Seattle Seahawks coming to town. Maybe they can steal one, but come on now. What's the deal, Bucky? We need you down in Tampa.
Yeah, he's a big part of what they're doing. And they are, listen, I don't know that they were going to be able to run the ball anyway on Seattle all that much, but I believe they still have White behind it. They still have an ability to be able to run the ball. He is a big part of that offense, but styles make fights, right, Donnie? So this is going to be one of those situations where Baker Mayfield is going to have to outduel Sam Darnold here, because I don't think Seattle is going to be running the ball that much either in this one.
Yeah, the play in question there was the one that he fumbled, which is interesting, where his wrist hit the ground, but it's still called it a fumble at that point. Looks like he banged up that foot end or ankle. If it's a foot sprain, that's terrible. You're actually hoping it's an ankle sprain at this point. I'll tell you, as another spraining his MTL, it's Braylon Allen, another running back, got twisted up in that Miami game. Boy, the injuries and the anger, it just keeps piling up for Jets fans right now. There is no tomorrow, as Carl Weathers used to say in Rocky.
Yeah, and Donnie, it wasn't like he got hurt running the ball as a running back. It was a kick return that he ended up. Why is he returning? Like, what are we doing here, Jets? What are we doing? Unbelievable.
Where's Gibson at when you need him? Yeah, where's Gibson at when you need him? Oh, that's right. They caught him and he's in Philadelphia at this point right now. The battle of attrition, Joe Ranieri. That's what we're going to talk about next. Thursday Night Football doesn't help NFL teams, particularly the road team, because wait a second. We just played in 150 car crashes on Sunday. Now you're telling me on Thursday Night Football, I got to do 150 more car crashes with my guys? Yes, that's what the NFL asks you to do. That's why you get paid the big bucks, and we need to sell those Amazon Prime and Netflix accounts on Thursday nights so you can make all that money and live in your plush mansions. So you deal with it here. San Francisco starting quarterback, to be determined. Brock Purdy hasn't practiced this week. Brock Purdy came into last week's game against the Jaguars as damaged goods. He left even more damaged goods. Could it be Mr. Mack showing up once again at quarterback this weekend? Matthew Stafford, he's doing just fine. Multiple touchdown passes late in that fourth quarter gave them the victory over the Indianapolis Colts. But Joe, we had a look-ahead line in this game, -3 for the Los Angeles Rams. Do you know I'm staring at most outlets at 6.5 across the board? The derivative for that is, who the heck is playing for San Francisco in this game Thursday night?
Absolutely no idea, Donnie, which is why I would not be trying to put, a square peg in a round hole here. Look at it in a totally different ball game like I did. When this total opened up at 47.5, Donnie, it was one of the first bets I made to the under here.
Sharp.
Short week. Injuries everywhere across the board. Much easier to anticipate Shanahan coming up with, listen, you got to be able to run the ball, right? Whoever the quarterback is going to be, if you're going to be asking them to drop back 30, 40 times against the pass rush of the Rams, it's going to be a recipe for disaster here. So I think both these teams are going to be more than happy to try to win this game in the trenches, Donnie. That's where it's got to be won. So no matter who's going for the 49ers, I do think this is a game on a short week. The Rams are good. I mean, they have been, I think, under McVay, 8-1-1 against the number when playing on 4 or fewer days rest. So they have been pretty good here. But at the same time, I don't know that I'm running to lay a touchdown here with the Rams. I think the total's the better angle.
The Joker used to say this to Batman, riddle me this, Batman. I'm going to ask you a question which I'm not quite adding up right now. We always talk about sometimes you can get good numbers early in the week or maybe guess on the information, make an educated guess on what you think is going to happen. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Christian McCaffrey's a really good running back. We understand that. You don't have your starting tight end in George Kittle. Your offensive line has been decent, to say the least, to start the season, not all that banged up. But the wide receiver position is decimated. We don't know if Pearsall is going to play in this game. We don't know if Juwan Jennings is going to play in this game. So 243.5 is the passing prop for Brock Purdy, who's telling you, I can't practice this week. I'm coming in as damaged goods. You want me to throw for over 250 yards on a Thursday night on turf against a division rival? Am I missing that? How's it 243.5, Joe?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the only thing I can come up with, Donnie, is that he's going to be playing from behind in this game. And as he does that, you know what's going to have to happen. It's going to be dink and dunk city. It's going to be screens to McCaffrey all over the place, which seems to be really what their offense has been here with all the injuries to the wide receiving core. So, yeah, I think if I'm doing anything, I'm probably not looking at Brock Purdy's passing yards. I'm probably looking at McCaffrey's receiving yards because he's going to get a bulk of those dink and dunks and screens and everything else.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, Joe. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Jordan Whittington, Kyron Williams, and Tutu Atwell listed at wide receiving yards props here. Nothing for the 49ers, which, again, is funny where we don't know who's at wide out. Somebody has to play at an NFL level to get close to 250 passing yards. And we're not talking about Patrick Mahomes like, oh, he'll make it happen. He's healthy and he can run around. Like Brock Purdy has a toe injury, which limits his ability to move in the pocket against a team that's going to know that and say, well, wait, it's not like you have Randy Moss in his prime on the other side where we have to give a lot of, cushion and we have to pay attention to. Who are you paying attention to the pass catchers for the 49ers in this game? That's the way I look at it. So for me, I don't love laying a big number on Thursday night, but you're asking me just simplicity, Joe. Who's going to win the game? It's the Rams. And yes, you're right. The 47.5 absolutely should be 46.5 because two things happen here. These two teams know each other absolutely like the backhand, like they're back in their hand. Like, yeah, I can read what's on the playbook. And number two, everybody's injured. And number three, Joe, it's a short work week on a Thursday.
Correct. Yes. And I think Williams is poised to have a big game for the Rams on the ground here. I mean, he with 13 rushes, 77 yards against the Colts. He had 20 for 94 against the good Eagles defensive front. And that's why I think there's no reason to think that they won't continue to pound the rock against a mediocre, middle-of-the-road 49ers defense that doesn't have Bosa. So, yeah, I'm all for looking to back a lot of the props on the Rams side this week.
Yeah, Kyron Williams, minus 210 to score a touchdown. They don't want you to bet him, which means you should be betting them on Thursday Night Football. Top of the hour power coming up next. Let's get to it. It's a Wednesday hump day. Some people like to say, everybody's working for the weekend. And we are. That's what we do. Like, people sometimes are listening to us or watching us right now, joking like, it's only Wednesday, but that's what the boys provide. We're getting you through hump day. Then it'll be Thursday, then Friday. Then it is the weekend. But also, the NFL never sleeps here, Joe. Lines are always on the move. Practice reports are coming out, and information exchanges hands, which we got to make sure the people know about. 465, 466 this weekend. That's a rotation number. That's the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets. And I love this. Joe, the Jets fan, as I like to say. How about this? They're home. They're getting 2.5. Is victory on the horizon for those New York Jets going up against the Cowboys?
Just cruel, Donnie. That's all you are. You're just taking shots here, man. That's all you're doing. You're just cruel, dude. As if it's not bad enough I had to deal with the Jets on Monday night. I had to deal with the Yankees last night here, and it has just been painful these last 48 hours. But the good news is for Jets fans, Aaron Glenn says this is just not going to be the same old Jets. So, yeah, I'm on Dallas because I don't believe him. Everything I see about this team leads me to believe he's not a very good coach. The coaching staff has got some issues. And, yeah, you keep rolling out guys that continue to play stupid football, not because they're going to get pushed around or they're not athletic enough, Donnie, or they're not talented enough. They're doing it because they're idiots. And I'm sorry, as bad as the Cowboys have been, that game against Green Bay, if that didn't open up some eyes of what that team is capable of with Dak Prescott at quarterback, kind of hard not to lay the 2.5 in this spot.
By the way, maybe I set the found like I'm going to cut Xavier Gibson. We're not going to make any more, errors, I should say, on special teams. Let's go fair catch a punt racing at the goal line at this point. Things aren't changing right now for Aaron Glenn and the boys. 47.5. Like if I'm playing this game, Dallas is going to move the football against anybody. I think their offense is quality. Just depends on what Dak Prescott wants to throw interceptions or not. But the Jets, like, you actually have a pretty clear path. They have one wide receiver, one pass catcher. It's Garrett Wilson. They have now one running back in the backfield, and that's going to be Breece Hall. And now they have one quarterback who just likes to run the football. So it's easy to say, oh, there's so many options on their offense. No, you have three options that you could take. Plus the running props over for Justin Fields. Take the running props and receiving props over for Breece Hall. And then you take a look on the outside. It's just Garrett Wilson alone. So I'm actually getting involved, baby, on the Jets this weekend with some of those props here. I'll tell you what's going to be tough to get some props in. The New York Giants, no Malik Neighbors. Is Jackson Dart going to run 15 times when they said he had sore hamstrings in the past game for running 10 times? Is it going to be Spencer Rattler, who they ran the Philly special, and a big part of that game against the Buffalo Bills for an interception. So how much you trusting your quarterback? A 40.5 to 41 total and a 1.5 point favorite for New Orleans. I got to tell you, Jackson Dart on the road to his first start. I don't know if I could take the Giants, and I don't love New Orleans, but I'd lean New Orleans at this point, Joe.
Yeah, and it's funny because the Giants were favored on the look-ahead line here at about -1.5. But again, we've seen a lot of public money here on the Giants believing in Jackson Dart and company here and just wanting to fade New Orleans as much as possible. But you see that line flip there. You're asking this kid to go on a road. It wasn't like, I mean, what did he do? He threw for 111 yards and took 5 sacks. He had 54 yards rushing, didn't turn the ball over. But let's be realistic. If your game plan with Jackson Dart is what we just saw against you're going to get this kid killed. Yeah. So they better figure something out ahead of time. And I think the public believes he can build off of that. But I believe there is a contingency in the market that believes expecting him to go on the road, even against New Orleans, who, by the way, took it to the Bills there for about 3 quarters. Yeah, that's a big ask for this kid.
Like, who we like? Is it going to be Scatterbo getting 37 carries in this game with no Malik Neighbors and you keep the ball on the ground? That's something to keep an eye on. But hey, the Giants got their franchise quarterback. Let's see what he does here in that game down in New Orleans. Las Vegas and Indianapolis. Indianapolis should have won that football game against the Rams this week, but they didn't. And then you have Mr. Interception himself, Geno Smith. Look at the Colts. Open up as a 6.5 point favorite. A lot of outlets, Joe, have moved to 7s right now and a total of 47.5. I think this is a good bounce back spot for the Colts in the spot. I do think we get points, but also I think we get multiple interceptions again from our guy Geno.
Well, it's funny. I mean, what could the Colts be if, Donnie Mitchell doesn't, drop the ball before he, celebrating before he gets in the end zone, right? What could that have been if he didn't hold on a 53-yard touchdown catch by the running back there? So, listen, the bottom line is they are there. They're still averaging over 6 yards per play, the Colts here. I don't exactly trust the Raider defense here to be some sort of juggernaut that's absolutely going to stifle Indy at home here. It feels like we're more likely to get points than anything else in this game. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now, is looking at maybe an over could be in play.
How about an over in this one, Joe? Maybe the game of the day, specifically in the 1 o'clock hour. That's Denver and Philadelphia. Saw a nice win for Denver on Monday Night Football against a bad Bengals team, but they did crush them. The Eagles won yet another game in Tampa Bay. Had that big lead, almost lost it late. Baker Mayfield throws that late interception, helps out the Philadelphia Eagles. This line opened up, Joe, 4.5. Now we're seeing 3.5 to some outlets, but the total 43.5. I understand the Philadelphia Eagles offense is struggling, but the scores on a week-to-week basis don't show they're really struggling. I think there's a chance we get 45-plus points in this game, Joe. How about that?
Well, yeah, you could, but this is going to be a come-to-Jesus kind of game here for the Denver Broncos. It's been a rough go of it now, the 3rd road game in 4 weeks here for them.
Yeah.
Got to go in a hostile environment, but defense travels. This defense has got to do their part against an inconsistent Philadelphia offense here. You're going to need to figure some things out here. If they're as good as we think they are, this Denver team, and people think they are, then they're going to have to show it in this spot. Yep. I don't think they win a shootout. I think their best bet is to keep this thing as low scoring as possible.
They need to show up, Joe, which means who's actually showing up for the Baltimore Ravens? Who's going to be playing in this game? Looks like it's going to be Cooper Rush going up against Stroud. By the way, Stroud picked up a victory last week, couple touchdowns, shutout. They have a good defense, but is that enough to go into Baltimore and win? By the way, Houston, now a favorite in this game, Joe. -1.5 in Baltimore.
Yeah, the look-ahead line was -10,
wow.
Donnie, with Lamar and company here. But this is what a difference this is. Yeah, Ravens getting points at home against a Houston offense that had 6 points through 3 quarters. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'll take the Ravens.
It's such a fun handicap. It's like, well, what do you do at Cooper Rush? Well, he's been around the block, not like a rookie getting his first start at this point.
Exactly.
Baltimore generally good at home, but not a ton of, help from Lamar Jackson. But also, Lamar Jackson wasn't playing that well against Kansas City. Could this be an easy Baltimore win? More NFL news and notes on deck next. Let's get after it. More NFL is never a bad thing. Yes, we have Minnesota and Cleveland. They're going to play another overseas game to start the day on Sunday, but then we trail into that 4 o'clock hour, head up to the West Coast. Who's actually playing? Boy, I'll tell you right now, the war of attrition, as we keep bringing up on each one of these teams, like who's playing for Tampa at this point? Is Bucky Irving going to play in this game? Like Evans is still down, still waiting on some information. Also, Baker Mayfield came into that Eagles game, Joe, with a bicep injury on his throwing arm. Didn't really hamper him in that game as he was slinging it all over the place. But an opening line of minus 1.5 for Seattle, that's now sitting at 3.5 and a total of 44.5. What am I missing here, Joe? It's just Baker Mayfield's going to show up and try to win this game by himself. I like Seattle in this spot. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, a little extra preparation time for Seattle as well.
Yeah, well, exactly it, right? So you've got Seattle on extra rest and Tampa on one of the longest road trips in the league, by the way. Flying all the way from Tampa to Seattle is that's rough here. But you got to figure that's already been baked in, right? So now that we're hearing some injury concerns here with Tampa, we're starting to see this pop up. And like you mentioned it, Donnie, to have the hook available, 3.5, I think is fascinating, but it's such a low total. It's still 44.5 here. So Baker's going to have to win it with his arm. We know this, but it's good to have Tristan Wirfs back. It's good to have Godwin back. I'm going to be interested to see if this thing drops back down to a field goal. If it doesn't, that's a big tell sign here to market. And they'll leave the hook out there because they think Seattle's going to win this thing by easily, in fact, going away.
It's official. Breaking news. Joe and Erie right now coming across the sports landscape here. Adam Schefter across other multiple outlets as well. Changing Cleveland. Browns are benching veteran quarterback Joe Flacco in favor of rookie quarterback Dilllon Gabriel per sources. The Browns were informed of the change this morning. A new sheriff in town, Dilllon Gabriel, and it's not Shedeur Sanders. Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, so who's the backup now? So now it's going to be Flacco is the backup, have to come in. Like, how bad is Shedeur Sanders that he can't even crack this? He can't even crack the number 2 quarterback spot here, which is absolutely crazy. But all right, Dilllon Gabriel, it is. You know what? At least it gives him a shot. He's not a statue. He's not a sitting duck. At least the kid has got some mobility here, and he's shown it in the preseason. He showed it in the 20 years he played college football. The kid's a gamer. So, yeah, I love the move. I think it's a little too late. But, yes, I think if he can show some promise here across the pond against well, let's face it, and not like Carson Wentz is some sort of top QB right now. He, too, is a backup. Let's see what we get from Dilllon Gabriel.
Yeah, a little intrigued now. Like, we're going to have that, run-of-the-mill Joe Flacco. At least you get to see a rookie quarterback in that early time slot. We'll see what happens. But breaking news, we always like to give that to you live, and that news just came across the wire, so we had to bring that up here. Next up, I'll tell you right now, name the points here for the Detroit Lions that they're going to score against the Cincinnati Bengals. The line opened up as a look ahead at 7.5. It's already over double digits. Detroit's not even a home team. You take a look at Cincinnati, the total in this game, 48.5 to 49.5. Cincinnati looks absolutely disgustingly bad. So we just saw a quarterback change there for Cleveland. Could we get one in Cincinnati? And again, Joe, the original question, how many points are the Lions going to put up this weekend?
It's going to be interesting. Outdoors, right, for Detroit. Are we seeing any pride at all in Cincinnati, or are they going to get boat raced on their own field? This could be the game where that could be all she wrote for Zach Taylor, because the lack of effort in that game against Denver and just the attitude and body language is just absolutely gross. If these guys don't have any pride here and show up against Detroit, who we all know is more lethal indoors than outdoors, it could be he could be that first coach off the board here, Zach Taylor, with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Here's what's going to save him, Joe. Just looked up here. Zach Taylor's contract with the Bengals was extended on 2022. It runs through 2026. So the Bengals look at this and go, wait a second. I can't fire my coach this year if I have to pay him for the next year here. Zach Taylor is safe because the Bengals are cheap. How about that? How's that a way to run an organization, Joe? Now, if you told me 2025 ends it, he would get fired. But 2026, they're like, you know what? Even if it's better for our football team, we're not paying an extra coaching staff to go away for a year. It just doesn't happen there in Cincinnati.
No, it doesn't. And boy, that's a lot of money that they have got invested in a handful of players there. And it's just not working out. They still have no offensive line, and they can't stop anybody on the defensive side of the ball.
Quick question here for you. Trey Hendrickson, traded in the next 2 weeks or no?
Not with that contract now. Now he's untradeable. Yeah, now he's untradeable.
He doesn't even have any more left, though. You know what I mean?
That's my point.
Elevated this year.
Nobody's taking it on to have to give it to him next year.
He's coming to the Eagles right here, people. He's coming to the Eagles.